Hi everyone, so I always find when I want to start sharing about my personal health story, I never know where to begin. And I always come up with the great ideas and, you know, the insights of what I should share when I'm busy, and then I sit down to record it and it just doesn't flow. So I'm just going to start recording when it comes to mind, whatever I'm doing, like chopping a carrot. Back to say 2011, 12 is when I started having issues in regards to eating. But before having issues with eating, I was run down all the time. Like I had a cold or flu or something every 2-3 months. So the doctor at the time was putting me on antibiotics, full course of antibiotics every 2nd or 3rd month. Now, with all the research that's been done since then, it's known that too many antibiotics is actually not good for you. You should allow your body to heal on its own timeline. So too many antibiotics can actually break down the gut flora. So that's what happened with me, on top of stress, an unhealthy relationship, and yeah, that all combined then led to me being run down all the time. And then my body started reacting to foods. So yeah, it was some kind of spice or herb. I still haven't narrowed down which one it is. And my tongue got bigger on one side and I had a bit of a lisp. So the long drive home, went to the chemist and said, yeah, obviously run down, your body's reacted to something that it wouldn't normally. But then it kept happening because my gut flora was so damaged after so much antibiotics and stress. It was then damaged for quite some time. So I went to naturopath, dietitian, food experts, everything, and I went off gluten. So grains had always given me extreme bloating and cramping, like multigrain bread and all that kind of stuff. So that was one thing, but it came up that I'm okay for gluten but not wheat. So obviously there are 2 different components in the grain. So I went on that kind of diet for a while, but once you start eating out, a lot of places don't realize that gluten and wheat are 2 different things. So you generally have to go by the gluten-free menu, because a lot of places, especially back then, there's more and more options now. But then my body started reacting to gluten because I was eating so many gluten-free products. You know, being able to just grab whatever. So, but at that time I was still eating gluten and wheat, but just reducing it a hell of a lot. But yeah, my body started reacting to things since then. So fast forward, early 2013, I left that relationship, moved back to Melbourne, but eating a gluten-free diet. Some things I could still eat, like some biscuits. Like I used to eat, you know, say Gaiety biscuits, but after, if I had too many, then my tongue would get bigger again. Or I don't know if anyone remembers the butchers called Leonard's, the chicken poultry place, and they would do, I was okay with, say, puff pastry because it's quite thin and not too thick and dense, and I would be able to have some of the things that they made, you know, 2 or 3 times a week for dinner, and I was fine. Obviously gluten and wheat isn't everything, even, you know, chocolate bars, and anyone who knows me, I used to be the biggest chocoholic, and my whole family is. Like, if there is chocolate hidden, we will find it. There's always chocolate in the house, there always has been, not in abundance, but we have a sweet tooth, the entire family. So yeah, I could put away a whole block of chocolate, and ice cream and chips and everything. It just, not a problem. Like, I miss being able to do that, to be perfectly honest with you. But then my body started reacting to chocolate. It must have been 2018. So yeah, during that time I could still eat some little bits, but probably from 2016 to 18 is when I had to really stay away from eating the puff pastry or some biscuits and things like that. So I had every test done under the sun. I had the camera down the throat, the breath test, every single prick test, 2 different hospitals did testing on me. I'm not anaphylactic. I'm not celiac, which is hereditary, thankfully. But yeah, my body is so sensitive. And then on top of that, doing spiritual work and being an empath, which I'll probably do another video about, it's about not obviously digesting situations in life, experiences in life. And yeah, so everything combined, yeah, is a recipe for your body rejecting certain things. And obviously as we age, our body doesn't respond to certain foods and environments or bounce back the way it used to either. So from 2018 is when, even though I was still eating chocolate and ice cream and everything, but obviously gluten and wheat is still in those items, unless you're eating, you know, fine sourcing ones that are predominantly gluten-free, which I wasn't, because I was handling it pretty well. Obviously I weighed more, but at that time it was probably, I was carrying too much weight. I've always been skinny, like a size 8 my entire life, since, you know, you can see from childhood photos, I've always been thinner. But from that toxic relationship, unhealthy relationship, I was comfort eating a lot, like, you know, takeaways. I was driving for work on the road a lot, so I would just grab takeaway, go through drive-through. Yeah, I was comfort eating a lot. And I just wasn't shaking it because I was unhappy. I joined gyms, classes, everything, reduced the amount of sugar I was eating, and the weight would not budge. As soon as I left that relationship, within 3 months, I dropped 1 dress size, and I didn't change anything about my diet, exercise, or anything. So it just goes to show, when you are in a negative or, you know, stressful environment, your mindset does, you know, how we think, our body follows through. I'm jumping from topic to topic again, it's hard. So yeah, 2018, I remember being at work when I used to work for someone else, and yeah, it's no surprise that big chocolate companies are changing their ingredients. They're not allowed to actually call it chocolate anymore because of the percentage. And from there, my body just was responding in a negative way to certain chocolates. And yeah, obviously it's all the different oils, seed oils that they are using as fillers instead of the real thing, chocolate. So and then 2019, I was working for myself, because I left that workplace, which was, again, another stressful environment. Didn't start off that way, but it ended that way quite badly for me. So I think a lot of stress happened. 2019, I was working for myself, and obviously working for yourself does bring a lot of pressure and stress to bring in enough money as well. Although, you know, I loved what I was doing with the energy healing, you know, meditation groups, spiritual development groups, doing readings, and then health and life coaching, studied herbalism to understand the body and plant families. But my body started really rejecting a lot of foods that year. Like, I went down to living off only a handful of ingredients. And those ingredients were, I eat everything organic and free range, because my body started reacting to, well, food that, non-organic food, because there's so many, you know, pesticides using, sprays, chemicals, everything. So yeah, my gut. And for me, I've never had to rush to the bathroom. Okay, I don't have that response, but the gastrointestinal system is obviously gut, esophagus, throat, like the whole thing. So how we think, our body follows through. But for me, it goes basically straight for the jugular. It's always the tongue and throat. It feels like the glands are getting bigger, and it feels like it's closing in. So even though I'm not anaphylactic, it's some ingredients do certainly mimic that, and it's very close. But not enough to get issued an EpiPen. So, I mean, that's a good thing that I'm not anaphylactic, but at the same time, it's extremely scary. It's fucking frightening, actually, when you can feel your body tensing and closing up and rejecting and giving you that reaction. So there was many times that I had to literally drive myself to the 24-hour clinic, or yeah, emergency services, and just make sure. And they kept saying, like, your breathing is fine, but you're reacting to things you wouldn't normally, like your immune system must be so run down. But yeah, because I wasn't born with this, so it's been a very, very slow process, and I could dedicate an entire video for hours explaining every single clinic, service, practitioner, test, scan, everything, both Western medicine and holistic, that I have had done with no results. Or there'd be a couple where I had results for a little while, like no reactions, and then my body, it's like once it reaches its threshold of having too much of one ingredient with a lot of things, not everything thankfully, it will just go into kind of meltdown, freak out, going, no, you're having too much, get it out of the system, and I'd have reactions. So I've been spending a lot of time to heal my body and get to the core reason without a beautiful friend who is no longer here. She always used to say that you are to reflect, not relive. And so I go by that call me up with God. I think it's a beautiful mantra to learn from the past, but don't go down a rabbit hole too much so that you start reliving it, because we don't want that. So during the last almost 6 years now, I have worked with different practitioners, including dietitians and a whole range of people in clinics that didn't help. All they saw was, you need to put on weight. Now, I've studied health and life coaching, and I may not be a dietitian or a nutritionist, but in health and life coaching, there is many modules on nutrition. And I've also studied herbalism to understand the plant families, to understand why my body could accept some foods and not others when they were part of the same plant family. And having lived it, going through this, I've certainly gained a lot of knowledge. Even at one point, my doctor at the time, during these last few years, I told him everything that I'd studied and applied, and even he said, you would know more than me. Doctors, and I've done research on this, across the globe, are only given anywhere between 20 to 25 hours training on nutrition as part of their doctorate studies. Because they handball, they do a referral to a dietitian or a nutritionist, etc. They are not trained in it. So a GP is probably the last person you should go to about nutrition, because they only get, and that's 20-25 hours over 5 or 6 years of study. Each year, I know in Australia, I've been told by another doctor that there is like a seminar or something that they can go to once a year on updates on nutrition, but it's not mandatory. They don't have to go if they don't want to. Every time I work with a dietitian, they would obviously give me things. Like there was one particular thing that I thought, this is what I miss eating, and I showed her what I was looking at. And I said, can you check out the ingredients for me? And she was, yeah, that looks fine. It wasn't fine because after 2 or 3 weeks of having it every day, I was having reactions. And I looked into the ingredients even more to understand, and where different words are just another way of explaining what wheat is or gluten. And wheat and gluten should be like the last thing you bring into your diet, reintroduce when you haven't had it for so many years. And as a dietitian, she should have known that. She should have looked into the ingredients more about, the wording, how they do use different words for gluten and wheat, etc. So that's only one example. I could give you a ton more on this is what has happened with me. And I was saying to someone not long ago that I think I've just been dealt a really bad hand with practitioners, and this isn't just about food. I think I need another video about the physicality of everything. End of last year, I said, time out. Nothing's working. It's been 5.5 years, and I'm coming back to my intuition. Intuitive eating this year, and not listening to practitioners who just see me as textbook, you need to put on weight, these are the nutrients that you need, this ingredient will fix this, and this. I know that. I've done the study myself and I've lived and breathed it. I know what I can eat. I know what foods help you put on weight. I know what foods have different nutrients and all the vitamins and minerals that we need. I know that, and I love cooking and baking. I can do that. It's not like I didn't know and I don't know. What I do know is my own body, and I know how to listen to it. But Western medical practitioners don't want to hear the woo-woo stuff. They don't want to hear about that. They are practical, and yes, as much as I have a very analytical mind, I also have a very spiritual and open-minded approach to things as well. So I've come back to intuitive eating, and so for probably since 2018, since then I have been living off chicken, rice, carrots, honey, butter, buckwheat, and water. That's it. So food ingredients, six staples. There was a time, 2018, I was living off rice, carrot, and chicken. Only 3 ingredients and water. So yeah, that's how much my body was rejecting pretty much every single food group. And that's why I call it the EMPATH diet. But it's extremely important to me, and I know I'm not the only one out there that has been gaslit from the medical industry. I know I'm not the only empath that has reactions to foods. The more spiritual people that I speak to, especially people that work doing the spiritual work, every single one of them that I've spoken to about this topic has a particular ingredient or a few ingredients that their body rejects. They simply cannot tolerate, or they can tolerate once or twice every now and again, and then like me, it's like their body reaches a quota of how much they can have and their body rejects it. We all have different sensations and reactions or responses. Obviously mine has been extremely intense, but we are getting back on track, because this year alone, coming back to my intuitive eating, I've introduced a handful more ingredients, and my body is moving better and differently. I'm going to do a separate video about like the physical side of it. But yeah, I just want to start explaining a little bit more. So I know people still look at me and yeah, I know I need to put on weight. And then it's about finding the right brands. So even though some brands say they're organic, their quality is not great, and their ethics are not strong. So it's finding the right brands, and then sometimes it comes down to crops, seasons. You can't, a different batch can have abnormalities in it. Some other people might be fine, their bodies would be completely fine with it, wouldn't even notice. But because mine is so sensitive to any change, it will have a reaction. So it's definitely a lot of trial and error. But we're getting on track. But yeah, I'll have to do another video about what I'm eating now every day and what I've introduced, which is really exciting. I've just tried something new again this week, and yeah, I'll have to do a separate video about how I've been reintroducing and the process, the method that I go through, if it helps anyone else. So if anyone has any questions, but I do request that, please, and I've said this in another post before, please, I beg you, refrain from messaging me or commenting any suggestions, because I have been through hell and back to try and take on board every single suggestion thrown at me, either by friends and family and every single practitioner out there, and nothing has worked. I've now found what's right for me, and it's working, and I don't want to disrupt my peace of mind with that. And I know everyone means well. People always say that it was coming from a good place, they mean well. I know that, but it can really be detrimental and take me off track again. I cannot afford to have any more bad experiences or bad reactions. So I'm sharing this. I'm using this basically like a Dear Diary now, this platform. Like I've always kept a diary of every single improvement, every back step, everything since 2020. And so I'm just going to continue doing that because I stopped doing it for a while. And I need to start doing this and to start sharing it, not only for myself, but hopefully someone out there might get some inspiration, or that, you know, you can get through really tough times, even if no one else believes in you or is the right help for you, whatever it is. Just never give up on yourself. Never ever give up on yourself. You have to be your own pillar of strength. And yeah, for me especially, it's about coming back to know thyself. So yeah, if you got through all this, thank you for watching. I'll try and edit out as much as I can to keep it shorter, and I'll do another video soon about eating and the physical side of things.